Okay. Looks like problem fixed.
Cool.
Say hello to Chris. Say hello to Chaz. That's right.
God
All
damn
right.
it.
We should be streaming. You been working out, Mr. Muscle Man?
No.
Because I have. Fucking have.
You have another one of your cool shirts on today.
I have a new shirt. I do. This one isn't really of
I
any
can tell
relevance
it's
other than
brand new.
yeah, other than it was on Amazon. I was telling you I was trying to have meaning, but I liked the flag. It's just kind of nondescript. So
Yeah, it's not bad.
here's my shirt.
I
With
bought a bunch of
my-
new shirts that I'll be featuring on this show. They're
Okay,
great.
with my super comfy T-shirt underneath.
Your under $60 shirt.
$59
$60 shirt.
$59 T-shirt.
$50.
Yes. All right. Is it the 18th?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, it's October 18th, and I'm Chris,
And I'm Charlie.
and we are.
A balling. That's right, you fuckers. We're a balling. And I'm excited because this is kind of a good episode. We're going to do a pretty big, well, I didn't say we're going to do a big episode, but the topic is very important. And for those of you at home, should recognize that because something happened interesting this week that Chris and I are going to go into in depth. But
Yeah, and coincidentally, it's what we both really thought was the biggest news of the week. And a lot happened this week. I wouldn't mind throwing in a little Nancy Pelosi losing her mind with Wolf Blitzer.
I would love that too. Yeah.
Uh,
I always love a little bit of Nancy losing at Nancy. Yeah.
And it really... Oh, we can get into that later. So Hunter Biden, the whole, let's call it, I want to make up a name that ends in gate.
Burisma Gate. Ukraine Gate.
Burisma Gate, Icky Gate, fucking Hypocrisy
How about
Gate,
just Biden Gate?
Biden Gate, Hunter
Hypocrisy
Gate, Hunter
Hunter
Gate,
Gate. That one's not bad. Hunter Gate. Yeah.
Hunter Gate, Hunter Gate.
I like Hunter Gate.
The Burisma board of directors, 50 grand a month plus. Fucking hypocrisy. I gotta stop swearing so much.
We're only 10
It ceased to
seconds
be
in.
news so quickly that the irony is just ridiculous. If he were, and once again, I'm not Republican. If he were a Republican, he would have been hung from his heels.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What I heard was if this was Don Jr., he would have been arrested at this point already.
Or some kind of,
clapped up.
investigation, whether it's FBI or an inquiry with regard to, whether or not he can serve as a White House aide or whatever. I absolutely believe that. Where'd you hear that?
Cumia, Compound Media.
Yeah.
Anthony, Opie and Anthony guy. He goes, if this
Didn't
was Don
make,
Jr., he would have been fucking arrested at this point.
Didn't make super horsepower. I'll bet Hannity or somebody on Fox said or suggested that. But I absolutely believe that for sure. For sure. Yeah. So his computer went to this surprises the hell out of me. A strip mall,
That's what I said.
like a mom and pop little fix-it place. But
In
I guess
Wilmington, Delaware.
maybe it makes sense rather than taking it to like Best Buy Geek Squad. He took it to just maybe, just a nondescript little place. Maybe had somebody take it in for him, just to avoid any
That's what I
kind of.
assumed. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about that till just now, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Just have someone else do it.
The guy made a copy of it, which is interesting. He had an
Well,
excuse, didn't
it's
he?
legally his property.
Oh, was it
He
abandoned?
doesn't
Is that
need
what
an
happened?
excuse. Yeah, so there was after a certain amount of days without a payment, you legally assume possession of the property.
Like 30
So,
days or whatever.
Whatever the fuck. It's some pawn shop thing, I'm sure, but some type of deal like that. But anyway, he ended up at that point it's your property, you can do whatever you want with it. So making a copy of it's not illegal.
So I either forgot or because I'm old or didn't hear the story on the details. So it was left there for some period of time and the guy claimed it as his property. And then he called the FBI, right?
Yeah, he called the FBI, and then he never heard back, and then he contacted somebody in his state representative or his senator's office, and then he never heard back, and then he reached out to Giuliani's office, and then that's when all this shit came out. Yeah, and some Republican watchdog group, some private charity. I forget what it was, but they didn't get anything. He didn't get anything from them. So he tried to get the fucking story out.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That suggests a little bit of an agenda. If he went to a watchdog group, because he could have gone to the sheriff or the local police or.
Well, I mean, FBI was his first stop, so.
Yeah, and that would be the appropriate, like law enforcement.
Right.
Interesting. A Republican watchdog group. They're going to sink their teeth into it. Huge.
They're going to be like, oh, fuck yeah.
So Charlie and I talked for all of 10 seconds when we converged on that both of us think that the bigger deal is what Twitter, and I think Facebook did it to a smaller degree, but Twitter,
to an extent,
blocked sharing, posting, any kind of furtherance or whatever you want to call it, of the New York Post
article
representation or article or whatever that talked about that. And they did it under their like no doxing, no sharing of public information. Now to me, I don't know if the first place my mind went was it's in the New York Post. It's out there. It's now like public information,
It's a world, right? One of the largest one of the largest publications worldwide. That's
right.
all. That's it, right?
Yeah, one of the most
huge,
widely read publications in the whole freaking world, and they're worried about protecting privacy. That's a bunch of horseshit.
And privately and publicly sharing it. So, or I should say, publicly and privately. You couldn't even privately DM it to somebody. So, like, if I wanted to send it to you in a link in our private messages, you couldn't even do that. Yeah. How fucking crazy is that?
That is that is scary. That's censorship and total violation of the First Amendment. I almost shut down my Twitter account just to make a statement. I should have.
Just been like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I thought it was because you didn't have enough followers.
I only have 2.
And the other one is, and it's Lucy and Ricky, their Twitter accounts.
It's not that bad. No, they're actual human beings.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. But yeah, and I told Chris this just before. Kayleigh McEnany, or I was talking to my dad maybe. Kayleigh McEnany got blocked from Twitter. She's the fucking press secretary of the United States president. She got blocked for trying to repost this story. They locked the New York Post account, and they've said you will only be able to regain control of your account once these 6 posts have been removed. And then they even changed their policy. They came out in this whole big statement basically where Jack Dorsey said, oh, this is wrong. We shouldn't have done it like this. He didn't say we shouldn't have done this. He said we shouldn't have done it this way without context. We should have told you why we were doing it. So he didn't even apologize for the act. He just apologized in the way that they did it, executed it. And he came out and said, all right, we're changing the policy. We're now, instead of just blocking these posts or these accounts, we're going to put a label on them that says that they're potentially detrimental to whatever. And then New York Post says, hey, why don't we have access to our account if you're changing the guidelines? And they said, because we don't retroactively change the enforcements on our previous policies. So they're still not going to do it unless they remove the posts. So they have to remove the posts and then just repost them, I guess. That's what I would do if I was New York Post.
this is seriously, seriously wrong and scary, I think. You know,
Oh fuck yeah, it's scary because they're
one
just
of the
controlling
biggest
it.
communication venues in the United States, and I don't know if it's huge like Facebook is internationally, but what's Facebook, like 30 million or 300 million, or it might be a billion.
Users?
Yeah, it's crazy numbers.
Users?
It's hundreds of millions or maybe a billion if I remember right. Could be 3 billion. Fuck, it's nuts. Anyway, I don't know what Twitter is. I could Google it real quick. Hey Google,
It doesn't matter, but oh god.
how many Twitter users?
330
1.2
million.
billion.
According to Overlow, there are 330 million.
I was off
monthly
by a
active
factor
users and
4.
145 million daily active users on Twitter. 63% of all Twitter users worldwide are between 35 and 65.
It's a lot of code.
330 million, 145 million people use it a day. That's
Daily.
huge. So the equivalent of every single American or whatever. It's not Facebook, but that is hugely substantial and just so wrong. I think, and I forget what you said when I brought this up, because I'm old. I think there is a Senate inquiry into this act or action.
I did not see that, and I've just been for the last 3 hours like reading stories on that shit, but I haven't been. But it's here's the fucking problem with when this stuff happens. Whenever there's a something negative that happened to the right wing, or let's just call it right wing of America, the red tribe, all of your news is coming from the blue tribe. So they're not even ever going to post shit about it. And it's going to be like, and I fucking guessed this. I called it before I even pulled it up. I'm like thinking to myself, it's going to say what we know or what we don't know, or what are the facts about the Biden emails, instead of like an email instead of like a headline that says Hunter Biden did X or Hunter Biden accused of S, allegedly did this. It's going to be like, here are the facts and the details, the data about it. So you're not even posting it in a headline. Like whereas when you're talking about Trump doing whatever, Donald Trump allegedly got hookers in Russia to piss on him. Like that would be the headline if you're talking about that story. But obviously when it's something that they're trying to cover up or trying to fit into their agenda, they have to word it differently. They have to say, here's what we don't know. Here are the things that we have verified and not verified. It's duplicitous. It's disgusting.
So do you think it's an internal agenda or that they're trying to appeal to their user base?
I think it's an internal agenda. And I don't even necessarily mean
That's even
internal as in-
scarier.
Yeah. Here's what Don Jr. posted, and I want to read this. So there was a message that got popped up on your Twitter when you try to post this thing, and it said, this tweet could not be sent because it it violates this tweet is potentially harmful or whatever, this link, and it goes against our hacked accounts policy, whatever. So Don Jr. posted this. He said, this is what Twitter really means. And it says, tweet not sent. Your tweet could not be sent because this link has been identified by Twitter or our partners as being potentially harmful to Joe Biden's campaign. So it's shit like that.
Twitter?
That was a joke.
Oh, okay.
No, it was a joke. But
Okay.
still, like he's saying this is what they really meant. Yeah. So just people at home, that did not really, it was just satire. But I think that outlines it perfectly right there. It goes against your guy, so let's fucking stop it.
You know, I should have tried, because I don't really care about my Twitter account. I should have tried to post it or comment on it or
100 times.
get myself
Blocked.
in Twitter jail. Yeah.
I have a Twitter account that I never fucking use. I'll try that. I bet you I could get us suspended really quick.
A second one, yeah. Twitter's crazy. Why not? So, Twitter tutorial. When I do Twitter on my phone, I don't really do it on the computer. So I hit home, and it shows tweets of the people that I follow, and then I just click on that, and then it's all the responses, right? And if I click on a response,
Yeah.
I get all the responses to the responses, right? and it's just drilling down rabbit holes. Is that basically how it works?
Essentially, yeah.
What am I missing? So if I hit home,
I don't think.
and then there's the tweets, and I just go down, it's just the most recent tweets of the people I follow, right?
Yeah, and there's some algorithm that makes them appear in a certain way, but yeah, that's
Based on what
it's
they
essentially
think
the
I
most
wanna,
recent.
basically based on what they think I
yeah.
want to see. Yeah, that's fucked up too. I hate Facebook, man. I don't see posts from anybody I'm interested in seeing them from. They make assumptions, right, on who I want to see.
It's an
I
it's
just
an
wanna
algorithm, and if you like, yeah, like I recently became friends with somebody that we both are acquainted with, and it was showing me all of her posts or whatever. And like when we became friends, and then I went back to my feed, and it was showing me like all of her recent posts from the last 7 days or whatever. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'm like, I don't need to see what she's doing just because we're friends now. So it just started showing all the stuff that she had recently posted or whatever, instead of doing it in a chronological order, or just retroactively refilling them in the feed where it would have been. But yeah, there's some kind of weird algorithm there that pushes content to the top.
Yeah, so I have 250 friends, and I do not get, let's say half of them post. I don't get 125 different, which I would prefer to get, and just sift through them myself.
Instead of like Fox Business News is reporting live or whatever, Breitbart says this, and yeah, you get all this shit. At least that's mine because I'm a Nazi. But yeah, kidding.
So Twitter's wrong and fucked up and in violation of the First Amendment and whole bunches of other things. We need 50 more minutes of that.
Okay, so here's the thing that I had like a little epiphany. I don't want to say epiphany. Let's call it a spark. I had a little bit of a spark that this was nice. So let's go back 4 years to the whole Russia collusion, Russia hoax, whatever. There you have Twitter allowing
You mean Trump being in bed with Putin? That whole spiel.
Right. And interfering in the election, yeah. So you have Twitter and Facebook, whatever, allowing let's just call it proliferation of this of this comment, this idea spreading around, articles, whatever the fuck you want to call it, to no end. Even article, right?
Which was total conjecture.
Right, which it was, yeah. And you can even argue that that's... I don't see a way you argue where that's wrong. As long as you say this is conjecture, there's no problem with that being put out into the public square. Now, fast forward 4 years, you have this story which is actually verified and based in fact. There's evidence to back it up, which is what the article is about, by the way, was evidence.
Similar in nature, which is, I think, part of your point, right?
Correct. Similar in nature as to where there's some sort of election interference going on and how the Twitter sphere reacts to it. They fucking stopped you from telling the truth to people. It wasn't hiding something that was potentially a lie. It was, or letting something go on that was potentially a lie. It was actually stopping the truth from coming out, which is so fucked up. And I hate the word, but Orwellian in a big sense. You weren't allowed to share it privately. It didn't matter if you were trying to put it on your tweet feed. I'm so old and out of the loop, but it didn't matter if you're trying to just tweet it out. You couldn't even share it with your friends, like secretly.
Okay, that
is
part
so fucked
is
up.
Extra double scary, right?
Yeah.
Because there's not even... I guess maybe the same argument might apply, but the scale is way, way, way different.
Exactly. It's how much they're trying to impact it, right? The spread. Because you could just add 150 people to a private DM and then send it out like that, and it's kind of like a tweet. But it's messed up. It's seriously disgusting. And the way that Twitter reacted to it, like I said, they apologized for the way that they did it, not for the action itself. They're like, we shouldn't have done this without context. We should have told you why we were doing it. And I heard some great explanation. It was like, I apologize for not telling my wife why I beat her, but I don't apologize for beating my wife. It's like, I should have told her that dinner was cold, which is why I'm beating you. Whereas opposed to like, I shouldn't have beat you because dinner was cold. Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? Oh, I'm sorry I got caught. Well, that's an interesting
essentially,
apology,
yeah, sure.
right? Yeah, I mean, that kind of apology. Whatever,
Apology, right?
whatever it has to do with, right?
Yeah. So that was rough. And I was like, ooh, that did not look good. And then Biden comes out and freaks out on some fucking CBS reporter, Bo Erickson. He's like, I think I screenshotted it. Let me read you the exact thing that he said. He was upset, to say the least.
Hunter or JoJo?
JoJo. Sleepy Joe.
I like JoJo.
JoJo's funny.
Gene
JoJo
made a machine. Joe made it go. Art blew a fart and blew the fucking thing apart.
The thing being Burisma. Fuck, I don't have it. But he basically said, "Oh, I knew that you would ask that, Bo. It's a classic smear campaign right up your fucking alley or whatever. Not fucking, but right up your alley." And it's like the dude works for CBS. It's not some hard-hitting Fox News reporter. If you can't handle a question from CBS, it might as well be NPR, right? Like, you can't handle a question from them about this shit, and you like lose your fucking marbles on that. God. And this is, I'll have to go back. We'll have to do this in the episode called Predictions and Corrections. But we predicted that on the 8 Ball, that this shit was going to blow up, the Big Sun stuff. We talked about that plenty of times. Or at least I did. I don't know about you. But
that was a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was a very long time ago. I don't think we predicted.
So,
well, I'm not sure, but
we did. I was, in this case, instead of being behind it, I was ahead of the 8 Ball, but I did predict it. Okay, it's verifiable.
Man, oh man, oh man. This is
It's
serious.
funny how the fucking whatever. My morning started today, by the way. Hiccup, excuse me. By reading an article about how Joe Biden falsely claimed some local union, Local 154 in Pennsylvania, of the Pennsylvania Boilermakers endorsed his campaign or whatever. How do you do that? And they actually came out and were like, actually, we endorse Trump. Don't fucking say that, you know?
Oh, I
About
got
some
wind
fracking.
of that.
Yeah, you
I
saw
got
that?
wind of that very briefly, yeah.
What are you doing? So there's more proof that this dude just goes up there and just says whatever the fuck he wants. It's not good. It's not a good look, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trump's the king of just spewing bullshit, so.
He'd be like, I never said that. I said the union in general supported me. I never said that they endorsed me. They're like, we have video right here of you saying that you endorsed. He's like, no. Right.
He's quite good at spin.
He's good at that. But, WWE, all that shit. Apprentice. But,
the
other Biden. Go ahead.
Just the whole, everything that's going on and who appeals to whom, and this is, and there have been a bazillion versions on themes, but this is kind of stolen from George Carlin, who I don't happen to think was ever funny. I think he was clever and a very good observational.
More of a philosopher.
Yeah, it wasn't really comedy. It was just, what was funny was his reaction, but the material wasn't funny. But anyway, he's like, go talk to somebody who's of average intelligence and then contemplate that half of the country is dumber than that person. Which is really, really, really scary, because that's half the people or more who are going to vote.
Right. It's potentially more. Hopefully the people who are smart are too busy to be voting, but the... yeah.
Or whatever, right. Doing other shit, or who knows, right? Oh, me, oh my. There was, I will forward it to you. I should have had it ready. I watched a podcast. I fell asleep and I woke up to, it was like best speeches from movies. and it was just a medley, and it had like Jack Nicholson when he was on the witness stand in A Few Good Men, and then it had Jeff. God, I always think of Goldblum. Jeff Daniels in an
Yeah.
HBO News show that only lasted 2 or 3 years, but it was just awesome. And it said, America is not the greatest country in the world. We were, but
Oh,
now
it was a Jeff
we're.
Daniels thing. Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen that?
I've seen that clip and I never really liked it, but
Really? Why?
it seemed like bullshit to me. But I saw it 5 years ago, so I was retarded. I was, 18 or whatever. So I was just a fucking 18-year-olds out there, you're retarded. By the way, just a quick side point: you're allowed to vote, but you are retarded. Anyway, so I don't know. I guess I have to rewatch it, but
Okay. When aren't we
just a
retarded?
quick tangent.
Is it a line? Is it a hard line?
I think
22?
probably most people, it's probably 25, 26 even.
I think it's just the shade of gray gets less dark.
I see what you mean. Yeah, and
You
it
know.
kind of goes from there. But yeah,
Yeah, it fades. Level of
slowly.
retardation, immaturity, whatever you want to call it. But yes. And I mean, some of it I hang on to intentionally. Parts of youth.
Your
that are-
retardation, your childish ingenuity.
Sure. I don't want to be too old and stodgy.
Yeah.
Why not?
No, look at you. That's
Life's
why you're
short.
cute instead of a god.
Right. There you go. Life's short. Be immature.
Yeah, life's good. Exactly. Yeah, be immature.
So did you
Um,
see the Wolf Blitzer Nancy Pelosi exchange?
No, I didn't, but I want you to give me a quick rundown.
So it's Wolf
So I
Blitzer
wanted to give me a quick rundown.
interviewing Nancy Pelosi. So Wolf Blitzer, CNN, extremely progressive guy, right? And he's asking Nancy Pelosi, and he did a good job of he was just asking her questions. And I should have watched it and made notes, but she said, he just asked her about accountability for some different things. And I'll share, when I re-Googled it, something else came up. But it got to the point where she said, "Why are you a Trump apologist?" And he didn't even, it's Wolf Blitzer. He didn't even come close to
yeah,
that.
give me a fucking break.
And she started talking about he was challenging what was wrong with getting on board with the $1.8 trillion bailout bill, for coronavirus. And she was just 1,000% defensive and just would not answer anything and went on the offensive with him about being a Trump apologist and why are you supporting Trump? And he's like, it's a $1.8 trillion bill and it's on the table and all you got to do is get it through the House and we have a $1.8 trillion, in relief.
Spend it.
And she lost her
I think it's
fucking mind. And she said the people that this bill, this particular insufficient bill, she's like, I feed those people. Like verbatim, she said, I feed them. And then I was like, oh my God. And it got to where, and I really never thought that, Republicans always say that Democrats want to create a dependent class and keep them there so they keep their power. And I was never like, I don't think they want to create a dependent class. But when she went into this mode and she went into berserk robot mode, I feed those people. And I'm like, those people? Because guess who's one of those people? Fucking me, right? I'm disabled. I'm the disenfranchised. You don't fucking do a thing for me, lady. And I was like, who are those people? If you say those people to somebody who's black, they're going to lose their mind.
What do you
Like,
mean
what
those
are you talking Exactly. Who are those people?
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm
Who are those
part
black
of who she thinks she's feeding. Hey, guess what, lady? Fuck you. Wow. I had some respect for her 6 months ago, and she's just done such a 180. You know, the getting her hair done, I got tricked. Really? You're the Speaker of the House. If you get...
Wait, what was that?
When she got her hair done, you didn't see
her
that?
did
It
during
was really
quarantine?
big news for about a week. Yeah, during quarantine. So she went into a salon, and it was on their security camera, and somebody got a hold of the footage. So she was in a salon, which was against California regulations. She went home. She got her hair done. She didn't wear a mask, which was also against regulation. So she got confronted with it. And she said, I got tricked.
Tricked into walking into a salon that had cameras in it. That fucker told me they were all off.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry I got caught. You got tricked. Well, you know what? Maybe you're not qualified to be in Congress if somebody who cuts hair so easily duped you. And you certainly shouldn't be holding the gavel. Oh my frickin' God. I got tricked.
To me, that's more of who Maxine Waters is. But yeah. Is the dude.
Anyway. So in the process
that explains that. Oh, go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
I was just going to say that explains another Don Jr. post on Instagram. It says, it's a picture of Nancy Pelosi. It says, either I get my way or you can starve. I'm Nancy Pelosi and I approve this message. I feed these people. You're right. That explains that.
Oh my gosh, man. Oh yeah. That sounds like that's what it's referring to. So
Yeah.
when I Googled that, another thing came up for her, and it was somebody was doing an interview, and she was being like all cute and flip, and she was in her home, and they were talking about, I think, food and pandemic and
And her
what are
ice
you
cream in her
eating during
fucking
the
freezer.
Yes, you saw that.
Yeah. Yep, I remember that.
And apparently
I remember
somebody
It
said
was-
that
was big news.
Somebody said it's like a Sub-Zero, like it's a $25,000 refrigerator. And she said, oh, and we get this shipped in and delivered. And there were, what were there, 50?
From
100?
Italy?
Like, is that where it's from? Pints of this, like,
I don't know.
super expensive ice cream. And it was just total freaking hypocrisy. Because for limousine liberals, being a Democrat is just a career choice, right? Hillary Clinton, fucking president or whatever her leadership role was in the Young Republicans when she was an undergraduate in college, right? And if I'm remembering the story correctly, I think she may have flipped when she had the hots for Bill. Maybe that's wrong, but she was in a leadership role in the Young Republicans when she was an undergrad. So what changed? I don't know. But they certainly don't live the lifestyle of somebody who's for, the working class, living modestly and,
Principle.
it's
That's what I
funny.
was saying. The working class. If you're a guy, yeah. Well, my point is just what do you say if you're the fucking dad at home and you got your fridge and your freezer full of potentially nothing, and you're like, and your daughter's like, oh my God, look at all the fucking ice cream in that, and you're like, fucking. I'm
Right, and that's the
busting
person
my
wha- who's supposed to be, trumpeting for you. How do people not see it? It's because they're dumber than, they're in the 50% that aren't as smart as the average person, I guess. I don't know. Or they're not paying attention, or they don't fucking care, or who the hell knows? Or it gets
lot
back
of it
to
is don't
what
fucking
we've
care.
talked about a million times is they're not worried about what they have and what they need. They're just angry with people who have more,
Whatever someone else says.
which still,
Which is
I-
sad.
I can't
Yeah.
wrap my head around that, right? Because everybody that everybody bitches about, Jeff Bezos, you know, I mean, if we're talking like rounding errors, I'm as far away from being a billionaire as anybody else. And I don't fucking care. Because guess what? We need incentives to invent shit and to create things and have companies like Amazon that gets me stuff half the time in one day to my door. I don't resent that guy as well.
I have like 4 Amazon packages coming tomorrow.
Yeah. There were 4 unopened boxes that I went and got. There was a computer card that I'm keeping this, my main computer in my bedroom. I'm keeping a 10-year-old machine running, and I'm adding a graphics card. I'm going down a stupid anecdotal rabbit hole, but anyway,
That's okay.
and it was like $160 from NVIDIA off their website, and it was $49.99 delivered from Amazon. So they created what, $120 in value for me, and delivered it for free,
Yeah.
and it got here in a day. How
My
do you
favorite joke
complain
about
about that?
Amazon is if you order it within 3 hours, it'll be here yesterday. Because they're so fucking fast with it, and it's everything. You can buy literally anything. The thing for me was when food. You could get your food on Amazon too if you wanted. You know, like, well, not like food, but stuff. If you want like Red Bull or whatever, or a fucking Halloween candy. You should just buy all your Halloween candy on Amazon.
When it got highly appealing to you? Huh.
Yeah. Also, clothing. I told you that. I bought this on Amazon. There's no logo on it. I think it was like $17 or some shit.
Decent,
great.
yeah, decent quality piece of clothing. Yeah, not
Yeah,
branded.
It's nice, thick, you know.
Occasionally,
sweater, yeah.
occasionally you'll get some junk. I bought dish soap, and I am absolutely certain, because I like Dawn dish soap in the little 4 or 6 ounce guys, whatever they are, 8 ounce, whatever.
Yeah.
And I am absolutely certain that it was opened, partially poured out, and diluted. I'm dead certain. So there are some scammers on there.
I've never had
Oh,
any
whatever.
luck.
I mean, how many millions of products do they sell that they can't 100% police? I don't blame Amazon. But what was I going to say?
You're like, this fucking dish soap is open. You owe me 18 cents.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me $1.
I want it back. Yeah, it's great. But whatever. You do need that. You do want that shit to exist as an American. So let let the market decide, as Joanne Nosachinski always says. Let the market decide. But
I thought of I thought of Bernie Sanders and his phrase billionaire culture, which is just multimillionaire culture in reality. And I was curious about how much I learned, like, that Sean Hannity, he makes like $50 million a year or something crazy like that.
what?
It's yeah. It's nuts. I think it's okay, Google. Annual salary of Sean Hannity.
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. The program was made available via Armed Forces Radio Network
What?
in 2006.
That's not what I want.
ABC Radio was sold to Citadel Communications, and in the summer of 2008,
Oh, here it is.
Hannity was signed for a $100 million 5-year contract. As of March 2018, the program is heard by over 13.
So whatever. That's old news. That was $20 million a year. I think it's $50 million a year now. But anyway, I
That's
wanted to
still a fucking
I
ton of
fact
money.
checked that, and it was like top 20 paid news anchors. And of course, Joe Scarborough came up, and Mika didn't come up. She makes $8 million a year, and she wasn't on there, which was, to me, was conspiratorial. And you know what I think the justification would be? Well, Joe's the host, and she's the co-host, and it's the top paid news hosts. So
So it was
broadcast,
like, she
whatever.
just got under the, yeah.
Yeah. So, and oh God, those two, but especially her, so their household income right? If you're a 1%er, you're an individual with an income of 400 grand or a household with an income of 450 grand. The two of them together make $16 million a year just in salary. Who knows what endorsements and or other sources of income they have. So just in salary, they make $16 million a year. That's 35 times the entry level income for a 1%er. 450 times 15 point whatever equals what they make. People like that just disgust me. They rage about wealth disparity, and they're 0.1%ers or less. Oh,
And they're not
hypocrisy.
telling their fucking accountants to make sure that they pay as much tax as possible.
Right.
They're,
Right.
I promise you, they're not. Yeah, they're not. No one is doing that.
I don't
Yeah.
tweet much, but Sam Harris, who I think you either don't pay attention to or don't care for, or
I'm
both.
lukewarm on him. Whatever.
I like him, but so I follow him, and I don't tweet much. It's just too much noise. But he was like losing his mind that Trump didn't pay taxes, and I'm like, one, you're wasting your time worrying about this. You're one of our country's good thinkers, and two, don't blame Trump. If he didn't break any laws, blame Congress. He's just following the tax code, and you're right. So he hires tax attorneys, tax firms to make sure he doesn't pay any more than he does. I mean, I buy software that, okay, Google's listening to me. I buy software because I don't want to pay any more that that the law allows me to deduct and not pay. And same with fucking them, right? Yeah, they're not using Quicken or HR Block to do their taxes, right? They're paying
Right.
people
Yeah.
who are making sure that they keep as much money as they can. So you're spot on, man. The same fucking hypocrisy applies. You're deducting everything you can. And if you have any kind of personal deduction or you run on a little side business and you have a business loss, you're deducting it. So if Trump didn't pay that, what it really probably suggests is he's not really making that much money or not that good of a businessman.
I was gonna
It's all
say
right.
that's what it is. It's at some point you're bad
All
at
right,
business,
Lucy.
right?
Yeah.
At some point it actually becomes a bad decision because you'd say, hey, as a company, we're gonna make X, our expenses are Y, bottom line is Z, we pay taxes on whatever. If you're gonna be like, there's some way for us to write this off, but because it's morally wrong, we're not gonna do it, or because we might face some outlash and it'll be bad for our business, we're gonna do that anyway. You're a fucking idiot, and you shouldn't. You don't deserve. That's capitalism at work. That's capitalistic Darwinism, and your business should fail. But like, I'm sorry, you just the whole tax thing. When Trump said he's like, I would be stupid if I paid more in taxes. He's not wrong. He said that and he characterized that accurately.
Right.
Get over it.
And if you don't like it, again, if he didn't break the law, blame Congress.
Yeah, right. If you didn't blame the law or blame Joe Biden,
Exactly.
he was-
Right.
because he had 47 years to do whatever he was gonna do.
Is that
with
how
it.
long? I knew it was 40 something. Is it 47 years he's been in D.C.?
40, because I only know that because Trump said, Joe Biden, I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years. Which is actually a fucking great line. But, yeah.
Oh, my.
We're in a very interesting time today.
Yes. What? I thought of something. Now it escapes me.
Was that a new experience for you?
No. As you know, I've lost creativity and recall.
I just like we were talking about the other day. You said something about where the moon goes away at night or whatever. You just make some shit up, and it was like, no, that's 4-year-old logic. I forget what the fuck it was, but it was hilarious. You were like,
I said
"Okay,
this?
that's fair." You're like, where does you're like, as a child, you just make shit up, and you're like, oh, where does the moon go at night, or like, where does Apollo go? Oh, Apollo is a sun chariot, and he fucking drives it across the sky. Like, that's child logic. That's not lacking ingenuity. Whatever.
How big is the moon?
Anyway,
It's as big as the end of my thumb. Because that's what it takes to
big.
cover it.
approximately. You know, if your hand is as big as your face, you're retarded. Oh. Anyway. Yeah, I'm just loving it. I'm just loving life. Even though Malice's show got canceled on my favorite network. Well, he didn't get canceled, but he left it so he could write more books. I'm still loving life, man. I'm just
Really?
living it up and enjoying the
He's
news
not
every day.
online?
Yeah.
Is he not
No,
doing
he's on
your...
YouTube still. He's not on Compound anymore.
So I don't know what all the guy does. Is he still doing You're Welcome?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then the other stuff he was... Oh, I forgot. Big
That was
news.
Nightshade. Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I forgot to have my drink.
Your ginger
So-
beer?
Yeah, did I tell you that they
got
were
canceled it or
discontinuing? Yeah, the one that's
Yeah.
sweetened with honey. And I called them. I just called the number. And it said, like, for customer relations, press 4. And I called and I said, hey, look, I'm 54 years old. I drink a couple of your, premium ginger beers a week. I hadn't had soft drinks that were sweetened in 20 years. I only drink your product. I think you're making a huge mistake. A few days ago, a woman called me, and she said, hey, I'm calling from Reeds Incorporated in response to the message you left 2 months ago. And she said, we're under new management. We got a whole bunch of feedback similar to yours, and we will be bringing back that product. And I was like,
No
wow.
way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, hey,
That's amazing.
your vote does count. I'm sure enough
Yeah, your
people
voice was
called.
heard.
Enough people took the trouble to call, like that. Hey, we're making a big mistake here, and
Like, damn.
this is probably what drove it more than anything. People were selling. So at the store, as you know, it's $5 and change for a little 4-pack. Now I'm just jonesing for one of them. I put one in the freezer before, so it would be nice and cold. There were people selling them on Amazon for like $12, double, even triple, and people were buying them. So
Wow.
I hoarded a bunch of it.
Damn.
From Myers and Whole Foods delivery. I would just put, I'd put 10 in my cart and I'd get like 2. And I just kept doing that for like a month. So I have probably 24 packs. But I told
Stocked
him
up.
that.
Yeah,
I
that won't
said,
even
I've been
last you that
hoarding it.
long.
Well,
That's
I've
like,
been,
what, a 4-pack a week?
I've just been having one a week. I had been having one a week because I'm like, this is, my last hurrah. Because I tried the regular sugar sweetened and I just don't like it.
If you did it only on Sunday when we did this show, that would last you a fucking long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it would last me probably over a year.
Yeah, about a year. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. You'd be like, next year, next Halloween, when we're on the show, you're like, last fucking ginger beer. This is gonna be tough.
Right.
And that would be when I would give you the one that I have in my fridge. But
Thank
anyway.
you.
I'm happy for you. That's good.
Yeah, so that's one of my few sugar vices. I've cut almost all sugar out of my diet.
You scared of sugar? You scared of caffeine? You scared of my mom? Scared of my sister?
That's right. John Van Oost.
VO.
So what else happened this week? This was a big news week, man. A lot went on. I was gonna take notes.
The other big thing was, I wanted to say this. This was pretty fucking funny. What the hell? Sorry, hang on. Governor Newsom. No, you can't see that.
Oh,
Doesn't matter. You don't need to see it because I'll read it. So Newsom, here's the This is Rob Schneider, who is one of the like most B A-listers like who exists. You know what I mean? He's like he's I would say he's an A-list celebrity, but he's a very, very, very B-lister. Anyway, so Governor Newsom, this is the article. It says Governor Newsom limits gatherings to 3 families, 2 hours or less, no singing. You see this?
For Thanksgiving. I did see that.
Yeah. Rob Schneider posts, Dear Emperor Newsom, during our allotted 3-family limit this Thanksgiving, if my aunt comes over, can I throw her a slice of turkey from the window? We promise not to sing. We will all just whisper. Please recall dipshit Gavin Newsom. I was like, fuck yeah. Fuck you.
No, right. There should be some matrix. Like if you whisper, it can be 4 hours. If it's 2 families, it can be, what would the math be? It can be 3 hours. You know, have this big fucking matrix. If it's 1 family and you whisper, it can be 6 hours. Yeah. And then like, depending upon what you eat, you know, if you take vitamin fused, we should have vitamin D infused turkeys. And then if you do that, it can be 6 hours and on and on and on. Yeah, that is
vitamin infused. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that
he was so right. That very end. Go ahead.
That was I read that this morning. Maybe not even. Borderline tyrannical. Very, very, very dictatorial. You know, and
oh fuck yeah. The limiting the singing. What? Is it because when I'm singing, my voice is projecting more particles into the air, and that like could get you sicker? I don't fucking know.
That's a fact. Yeah, when you shout and or sing,
you just say no sneezing. No sneezing. Hey,
sneezing
don't do
is
it.
Against the law. Sneezing is a capital crime. Coughing's a capital crime. If you get coronavirus
do you actually
and you
know
cough,
where? God bless
if you get coronavirus and you get a cough, that's punishable by death.
They just fucking take you out, and it's a public
Right.
execution too. So you know your death has meaning at that point. Where
right?
Turns out that coronavirus actually results in a 100% fatality rate or mortality rate because we execute them. Yeah.
No due process, no trial. Bam. What's you're entitled to jury by trial? Is it 7th Amendment?
No idea.
I forget.
6 or 7 or something. I don't know.
One of them. It's one of them. One of them Bill of Rights things.
One of those stupid Bill of Rights rules.
One of them firsthand.
Yeah.
All I care about is 2. You can shove 1 up your ass. I like 5 too. I'll take the 5th.
I think that if you had
2 and
this is a
5.
good thought experiment. What is 2 or 1 more important to you? Not to you, but if you had to think about it logically and say, as a citizen of some imaginary country,
In terms of sustaining a free society, 1.
Yeah.
I think 1 for sure. If your voice can be suppressed, what good's a gun?
Your voice is suppressed today.
Well, you're right. You're right. But I mean, you know, the story,
and you have both of those amendments. I would say 2, just because I think that if it comes to some shit, then you're like, you know, we're not fucking sticks and stones up here. We got.
Well, you know, I've thought
power to
about
fight
this.
back.
We're a huge gun society, right? I'm not sure that all the statistics on gun ownership are available. I'm not sure they're out there. But I guarantee you the government has a pretty good idea of who has guns. You know, they got to know. And they got to know, you know, guys like me who are just really mild-mannered people still own guns. And then you get out into like the country and more kind of militia-ish frames of mind, I guess. And
Yeah.
if somebody were in office who thought long and hard about trying to collect guns, there would be civil war. There would be civil
in
war.
Michigan especially, yeah.
I think any state. I think even California.
Well,
The people who live outside the cities, you know.
I think that's the one you could get away with it. Maybe.
But
maybe
all I'm saying is,
I don't even
if
know
you-
because there's backcountry
If you
people.
went for people's guns, there are people who would die. You know, the only way you're getting my Smith and Wesson is when you pry it from my cold dead hand, right?
Mole on lab.
So
You know what that means? Yeah.
I do not. Enlighten me.
That means come and take. Yeah, come take technically, but that was what the 300 Spartans said to the Persian army when they were coming over. They said, "Mol on lab." That means they said, "Spartans,
Co-
surrender your weapons,"
Bring it on.
and they said, "Come and take them." Yeah, let's fucking go. Oh God, that gives me. If that story, by the way, doesn't give you a little bit of a freedom hard on, then there's
No,
something
yeah,
wrong with you. You're clipped.
yeah.
Yeah, come and take it. 300 dudes who are just whatever. They're willing to die, which is amazing. But I think you're right about the Civil War thing. And in Michigan, the whole gun stuff, I have a gun right. I'm looking at it. You couldn't trace that if you really wanted to because it was a gift. And because we live in Michigan, it's a great state. You can give guns as gifts without actually having to transfer ownership. But
I mean long
um,
guns. Yeah.
yeah, long guns. You can actually give short guns. You do have to have paperwork for those, but you can give pistols as a gift.
Yeah, but there's a paper trail. But
Yeah.
it doesn't make you less scary or less armed because they know you have it. If anything, you know, it makes you more scary because they know, all right,
talked
this is a
about-
house, right? This is a house that might fire back.
We talked about Breonna Taylor, which I think her name should be pronounced Breonna, but whatever. It is what it is. You
Yeah,
know, and
hey-
this actually turned out to be wrong, but that guy having the gun there, I was like, maybe that's why they fucking did the no-knock warrant is because they knew that he had a gun, but you're like, no, they didn't know that he was there.
Yeah, they didn't know he was there. Hey, so quick disingenuous news update regarding that. So
Please.
it went from he was the shooter to it can't be determined. And my prediction in my head, I should have said it on the show, was that the bullet got damaged and they can't match the signature of the bullet to the barrel of the gun. And if you don't know what that means, it means every gun has like a
Right.
barrel and fluting that spins the bullet, and you can look at the bullet unless it's totally destroyed and generally match it to the uniqueness of a particular gun. Well, they couldn't do that in this case. So they said, well, we cannot determine from which gun the bullet that was in the police officer's leg was shot. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Every single cop, this was part of the story, had a .40 caliber gun. And the guy in the apartment had a 9mm. How can their investigation not conclude that it came from, because a 40mm won't shoot a 9, or a .40 caliber won't shoot a 9mm. How can this not come out in the investigation? So guess what? They did conclude that because of the caliber, it came out of the guy's gun. The press
Wow.
never reported that. So just
Wow.
fucking, partial truth is mistruth to me. And it just makes me want to puke. And that was a couple of weeks ago.
Wait, let me rant on this for a second. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing. The thing that fucking bugs me about that is so many people will read that story and go, that makes sense because I read that. Whereas you took the extra step, the intellectual leap, which, by the way, is one small step for man and one giant leap for retards. But you just said, well, it was a 9mm and all the cops were carrying .40 caliber S&Ws. So you just say, what caliber was the bullet instead of like, case closed, case closed, as Mike Malice says. we can't determine the validity or the origination point of the shot because the bullet was destroyed and fractured. And you just go, yeah, whatever. But how many people, kind of like George Carlin, don't even fucking think to ask that question because they're stupid or because they're just sheep and they're willing to believe it because it was reported to them. That's the big problem.
Can't conclude. Really?
Yeah. Right.
Uh,
Or you could say, I don't even know what. Here's what I'm picturing actually is all the cops are standing like this, right? And I actually went to the gun range yesterday. This hurts a ton right here. I was shooting this nice 9mm Beretta, but all the cops are like this, right? They're all pointing like that, and then they kick the door down, and then the one cop has his gun still here, and he draws his secondary gun, like if you're gonna kill a crackhead and you need to put a gun on him, he draws his gun. It's a 9mm, and he just pop, shoots his buddy in the leg, holsters the gun, and then that's what happened. He just shot his pal in the leg so he could fucking kill the black guy in there because they're
Right.
racist, obviously. Yeah. So, what the fuck?
exactly.
I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah, but that's the
either.
problem. Have a healthy skepticism is something that's important. And actually, a liberal college professor taught me that. Well, he didn't teach me that. He was the first person who I'd heard who was a professor or a teacher share that with a class where I'd been in public education my entire life. He was the first person who thought to even mention it. Be skeptical. Don't just like take everything with a grain of salt. Luckily, I grew up the way I grew up with my parents, and I was taught that at a young age. But don't be a fucking rube. Don't be a sheep. Think for yourself. Get down to the bottom of it, or don't talk about it.
Or don't talk about it. Right. Or
50
shut
million
up and go
immigrants.
about your business.
50 billion immigrants. Yeah.
Oh my. 8-ball. Were you getting ready to ask a question?
No, but I could, if you want. Are we
I
coming up
think
on
we-
time?
We're approaching an hour.
Yeah.
Need to ask something about either Twitter or Hunter.
I think there's going to be some family explosion that goes on over the next. I'll give it a week, because that puts us at 2 weeks from
define-
the election.
Define family explosion.
I think Biden is going to have to either disown or come out and say, "My son did this and that was wrong," or something.
No.
You
In
don't
for
even-
a penny, in for
Yeah,
a pound, man. He stuck up for him for barista. He explained it away,
Barista?
6 months ago? Burisma or whatever it is. Burisma.
And he was just asked in that interview, "What do you know what your son was doing at Burisma or whatever?" And the guy said, "No, I don't know what he was doing. I know that he was on the board." And you're like, even after all this became so relevant, and you're like, maybe I should figure out what actually was going on. You either are lying about it or you're fucking stupid because you didn't ask Hunter what the
Well, yeah,
fuck was really going on. Or
Yeah, wouldn't
yeah.
you sit down with your kid and say, "Hey, man, you know,
like,
I'm
"Dude,
running for president.
this is
What
me
the
now."
fuck is
Yeah.
up?"
Yeah. Yeah. You would.
Uh,
You would. So he's lying, or he's either a terribly, terribly negligent potential presidential candidate, or he's just a liar. One or the other.
or an idiot.
I don't
Or
I
an
don't think
idiot
that's
for not.
stretch. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
But
Say
I think
negligent
it's an option.
criminal.
I think it should be C. Or an idiot.
Okay. Or C. I like that. Okay, we can do that. Is Joe Biden an idiot? That's actually good because we can knock off the bottom one or confirm it, and then the other two, that way we have 50-50. So that's actually my question today. Is Joe Biden an idiot? Seems like a waste of a question. It just says yes. That's
Does it really?
it just says, it's just one word. I wish I could show you, but literally it's just
Joe.
yes. So
Poor Joe.
Yeah.
I liked him a
Yeah.
couple years ago. I don't dislike him now, but the whole Burisma thing just threw him in. He became another fucking swamp creature, and poor guy's losing his mind.
where was he that was he at a town hall or something with Jake Tapper? And Man, see, I think it was either Jake Tapper or Anderson Cooper. I don't know. One of those. They both look alike, and the only difference between the two of them is that they have a lisp. You see
Then
that? The
Anderson
joke there is
Cooper
that
makes
Anderson
like
Cooper's
$20
gay,
million
so that
a
Jake
year
Tapper's gay too.
income.
I don't know. Whatever.
Anderson
The
Cooper
joke there
showed
was
up.
that Jake Tapper's also gay.
Anderson. Oh, really?
What?
Anderson Cooper showed up on the highest paid anchors. He's not a fucking anchor. He's like a color guy. But anyway,
His mom was the. Yeah.
but he
Point
makes
being,
20.
Either one of those two fruits.
Anderson Cooper
What?
makes $20 million a year. Is that equitable?
Well, I make $20 per year, so
Is that equitable?
probably not.
He's in the Bernie Sanders, icky rich club.
Well, his mom was a Vanderbilt, right?
That's a hunt. Oh yeah, that's right. That's $100 million every 5 years. You can live obscenely
Anywhere.
off that kind of money.
You could buy an island. I think you
could-
could probably build an island artificially. Yeah.
I was watching just this little creative little program very early this morning, and this team was going to. It was really interesting. I don't know if investigate, but they were going to do research on a volcano and take pictures, and it showed all of the equipment. And it was an island that is this tiny island, 1,800 miles north of New Zealand, like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And they showed that they flew to an island that was close to it, the closest island that had an airport, like a landing strip. And so it's kind of like Tahiti is to Bora Bora, I guess. And it was just really, really, really interesting that there's all these people living on this island, and they all have very little money, but they need very little money. They just live off the land. And I was like, wow, man, with just a little bit of money in
should
your
do that.
pocket, you could go there and just live like a king and just check out.
I should do that. They would call me Paleface.
It looked very appealing. Where it's
Paleface
like,
Jazz.
whereas like the low is, 65 and the high is 80. And the only problem is one hurricane, goes through and life is over.
I'd be like, fuck, is there a Western Union anywhere? I need $500 to rebuild my hut.
Right.
Then you're set.
Right. That's
Where's the
the
nearest Home
appealing
Depot?
part.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't even mind that. I could live in a fucking hut. If I could get an internet connection and do the show from an island. Why
It's
not?
so funny. That's the one thing that went through my mind was to do a podcast from there. Would they have high-speed internet? That totally went through my mind. That's hilarious.
That's the one thing that I said too. I could just check out on everything except for one Sunday a
Gotta
week.
do the
And honestly, if I lived
podcast.
on an island, fuck it. I'd do 2 shows. I would do
I
2
do
a
a
week.
show every day. Just do a 10-minute show every day.
Yeah, fuck it.
Hey, look how
It's
sunny
like,
it is.
Singing back, you're like,
Sucks to be
you're
you.
like, got your little hat on. You're like, I got a little sunburn today. I need to stay inside. Yeah.
Yep.
Except for that, you probably get eaten by like a fucking rare toxic spider or some shit, and that would be the
Or you'll get
irony of the whole story.
malaria
Right?
or some mosquito-borne
I can't
one
get
in a
malaria
billion
because I have
disease.
thalassemia.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that?
We got that going
Yeah, that's
for
the
you.
purpose of that disease.
I interrupted you. You were going
Oh, wait.
someplace substantive.
Yeah, you were. My which
Yeah,
is
I did.
so fucking beautiful and disingenuous media. We cover that story or that topic pretty much every show, and it's the best story that America needs right now. Jake Tapper or Anderson Cooper, I forget which one it is. That's not
Oh,
me
yeah.
being disingenuous. They were at some town hall with Joe Biden, and they asked the question, and they're like, Donald Trump falsely claimed that your son had lucrative business dealings with China or whatever it was, right? He prefaced it by saying falsely claimed, like he fucking knew, like he knew. Like he'd done the fucking fact checking up front. And I'm like, that is so, oh man, that's just terrible and shitty and fucking disgusting. And it shows everything. Like, you're supposed to be the fucking moderator. You're not the
Yeah,
You're not
that's-
holier than thou, and neither are those politicians. So
I
not
think
doing
I
anybody
said
any favors.
recently, if you have a microphone or a podium, people are supposing that you're informed and correct. And you have a responsibility, even if you're doing a goofy little podcast like us, you have a responsibility to, I think, to not lie, to not mislead. If you say, this is what I saw, it should be what you saw. If you say, this is fact, it should be fact. If you say 2 + 2 is 4, you should be right. I truly believe that. And that
or
is
at least
just...
give a caveat that you don't know the answer and then you're guessing. But yeah,
Yeah, so what he did, I think, is totally... I think it's wrong. I think it's morally
Yeah.
wrong because
And-
it's an abuse of the privilege you have to be reporting like you do. It's fucked up.
and the thing that he said was not false. It was real, and we saw that shit got verified on Wednesday. The fucking receipts came flooding in. So he not only was he giving it a modifier, he was actually wrong about it too. So I'd be like, so if I was trying to be like, so Jake Tapper falsely claimed that I falsely claimed whatever. be like, fuck this guy. But no, you're right. It's vile. I might even say
You know,
vile.
things are devolving. I don't know if I told you this, but I really didn't like her show, but had respect for her. And the person is Rachel Maddow.
Rachel Maddow. I knew you were going to say that.
She is a very, very smart person. And for some period of time, she's very smarmy on her show. I don't like the persona on her show. But I've seen her interviewed, and when she has done elections, she is very, very smart. She's very, very informed, and I held that above her show, and it's a show. But she's gone to the dark side with the rest of them,
They
and
had
just
cookies.
now, walks a line between being very opinionated and misrepresenting the truth. And I've lost it for her now. And that's really disappointing because, again, I didn't like her. Ben Shapiro, he's a smarmy little shit. I don't really care for his show, but he's honest. And he has a point. But again, I don't like him. He's annoying. And whatever. Too conservative for my
Weasel
taste.
is the term that I would use.
But and that's how I
Easily,
felt
yeah.
about Rachel Maddow until, like I said, she's crossed the line, and it's a shame. It's a shame, man.
I've hated her for 5-6 years, but on election night, that was really when it's the last nail in her coffin for me, because she actually cried on air. I'm like, you can't have any fucking... You can't... No one should respect a person like that. No matter how smart you are, you're like, this is us. This is our life now. This isn't some nightmare. This isn't a dream. This is really what's happening. And it's like, grow the fuck up, you stupid bitch. Jesus. Sorry, that was a little bit rough. But excuse me, women at home. I have tons of respect for women. But, but like, what the fuck are you doing? Be an adult. Jesus.
I didn't know that I fell asleep before that happened. Anyway,
I watched all that shit. Well, it doesn't mean you couldn't have watched it.
she was very good. She was very good for that election. Like, hyper informed. Oh well. Oh well.
Didn't she call?
Did you finish your
Ivanka
thing on
Trump,
Anderson Cooper?
Yeah, I did. The point was just that he's a fucking disingenuous piece of shit. And if it's Jake Tapper, I don't care. Both of those two fucking fairies can be
Yeah, Anderson, come on now.
replaced. But yeah.
Keep it clean.
Any, yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm just saying that was just shitty, and that's not your fucking job. Sit down and do your fucking job, which is to ask questions and be unbiased.
Yeah, Anderson Cooper crossed over to the dark side fairly recently too, in the last year or two. Oh man, I liked him for a while. I thought he did a good job until I don't know.
Remember,
when.
you also didn't like Tucker Carlson.
I did not like Tucker Carlson, and you know what turned my
And now you do.
He was on, and you don't like what's his face, Dave Rubin. I saw him on Dave Rubin,
Oh, I don't
and
like
he
Dave
was really, really, really. I was like, this is a good guy who loves this country. So I gave him a shot, and I still can't stand, that his famous look. That when somebody's
this.
talking, he has the Tucker Carlson look. Yeah. And you know what? He's kind of,
But
the last month or so, he's not been who he's been since I took interest in watching him. But
he fucking knocked the Biden story out of the park. Folks at home, me and Chris are great. We're probably the best and only news source you'll ever need, but go watch Tucker Carlson talk about the story. It's phenomenal. He just did it. It was a home run.
Right now he's the closest guy to center in terms of a talk show, I believe, that's on right now.
It's because he just talks about the I think that he is a very good job of talking about the truth and being like, if that's true, then this is pretty fucked up or whatever, you feel like, here's what we know. Here are the facts. This, and this. And we also know the facts from back then. And he just does a great way of tying everything together and saying, if that's the case, then that must mean this. Or that kind of says to me, or what does that tell us about this person? It's a really good job. And a lot of it, I don't want to say unbiased, but obviously it's right-leaning. But a lot of that shit is just factual. And he does a good job of calling out the bullshit.
Here's the thing that is, I would say, I guess, the most mitigating thing there is for me when I'm kind of evaluating a personality. And it is, do they love this country and does it shine through? And for him, the answer is yes. And for a period of time, I think, for me, for Rachel Maddow, while I don't care for her show or her approach, that shined through. And so, I gave her props. And again, she's just kind of crossed over into the dark side. Anderson Cooper, I liked him. He crossed over the line. They're falling, man. They're falling like flies. There's just so few people to watch now. You got to watch podcasts. Now we're bumping time.
That's why we bring this to you, you fine folks at home.
Exactly.
And we love you for it.
I really think podcasts, and I think podcasts, so we have very few viewers. We're not working on getting a lot, but we will. I think that, I think niche shows are ultimately going to become where this goes. Who I know,
well, and
are
everybody's
they
going to have their thing,
local?
yeah.
Yeah. But I think that it's going to get more and more fragmented into just smaller internet shows that appeal to people.
Here's what I'm predicting. I need to have my notebook ready so that I can write down these predictions and corrections for the segment when we finally do that. But
okay.
You're going to start seeing political polling based on podcast viewership demographics. I think that you'll start seeing that.
Oh, I'm sure it's already tracked. I'm sure it's already tracked because there's enough
you
big
think
ones.
So?
Sure, there's enough big ones.
I think that would be a huge telling thing because that's where it's all going.
Rogan gets more viewers than
like,
I think Sean Hannity, and Hannity's the most watched cable network show there is, if I'm not mistaken.
Tucker actually beat him recently.
Yeah.
Tucker passed him. Anyway,
But-
the Rogan thing is interesting too. Have you seen that Spotify is like fucking boycotting him or whatever. What
Yeah,
is it?
some of the-
it's
yeah, some of
essentially
the
a virtual
employees-
strike.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of weird though, because what's going on is, so it's some of the employees at Spotify, and it's on the past episodes when who's the super crazy loudmouth conspiratorial guy,
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Their biggest thing was
Right
that they
north.
still, yeah, they still kept the Alex Jones episodes up from the past, and it's like, you know what? If you want to censor somebody because they have an opinion that you don't agree with, you're not liberal. You're conservative.
Then you ain't black.
You're hyper conservative.
Yeah.
People aren't
Hyper-
going to know what that is.
Sorry. That's a reference to something that Joe Biden said, folks at home. So if you thought it was racist, there you go.
Yeah.
Hyper conservative. Yeah, and I think that you should just let it be. Just let it exist, whatever. I would never delete any of our shows for any reason. Also, because
Yeah,
I don't have that power. Chris is the overlord there, but
Yeah, but if you don't want to hear somebody because it
don't watch it.
doesn't agree with, then you're not liberal, right? If you're liberal, you're willing to listen to anybody, at least once. It's the
I don't even
definition
think that
of
you should
liberal.
have to. You should be like, I don't want to listen to that.
Yeah, but if
Open
you
to
say
hearing
you're
new
liberal,
ideas.
then everybody gets their say. Otherwise, by definition,
Which is a
you're
bad
you're not that. Anyway,
That's also a bad idea. Sorry. Hierarchies are the way to go. Some people don't deserve to talk. Sit down and shut the fuck up.
okay,
yeah.
Mr. Twitter supporter.
I'm not
This-
saying we should
We've
silence
gone
them.
360.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Now I actually am on Jack Dorsey's side. I convinced myself over the course of this episode. We really went through a lot, and I've had a total evolution of self. So I hope you people at home have similar experiences, and I'm glad I could be a part of it. Yeah.
There you go. That's the perfect thing to end the show on. Bam, we're done.
Thanks
Cue
so much,
music.
everybody.
All right. I wasn't fast enough on it, but
Hunter Biden is correct.
say goodbye, Charlie.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Chris.